Yes, indeed. A very big hello, and it's a very big episode of the Course Language Podcast. We do it all thanks to Callaway. If you can't tell, if you're watching us on the YouTube, well, great to have us wherever you're downloading your podcast. Sam Hargraves, golf commentator, Golf Tragic, joined as always by the man who played on tour. He won on our tour. He teaches others to hopefully do the same. He commentates on the PGA Tour of Australasia. But if you are watching on the YouTube, you might notice there's a third box, and that face in it might look a little familiar to you. But come September 22nd, this man's got a very big job. Medinah Country Club, it all begins. It'll be the 16th edition of the President's Cup. And over that time, our international team has only been victorious once. It was in 1998 at Royal Melbourne. Peter Thompson's troops took down the tourists 20.5 to 11.5. Now, 3 Australians have captained the President's Cup international teams over the journey. David Graham, Peter Thompson, Greg Norman, and this year we needed to turn to another Victorian, the 2006 US Open winner, the 3-time President's Cup player in Geoff Ogilvy. He's going to take the reins. He grew up playing at my home course at Cheltenham, and you grew up watching him, Lynchy, because your dad coached him. The man himself has been good enough to join us on Course Language. Geoff, thanks for being with us. We really appreciate it. Hello.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to be here.
Hey, thanks. I wanted to take you back. First of all, you've been involved in so many of these President's Cups, 7, I believe, in total, 3 as a player. Can you just take us back to your playing days? Give us the most memorable playing experience of the President's Cup and why.
Well, look, I'll go earlier than that. I'll go to 98 where we last won the tournament. I had just turned pro. I turned pro, I think, sort of August that year. Played a couple of little ones in Europe, went to Q school. I'd been through all my Q schools. I got my card in Europe and I'd played the Australian Open, I think, and I went over the New Zealand Open that week at Formosa. Missed the cut tragically, but I'd had a nice run. Like I'd got my card in Europe and I was all set for next year. So I was sort of like off and running as a pro, if you like. And I missed the cut in New Zealand and I rushed home and I watched the weekend in 98 at Royal Melbourne. And that was, I guess there'd been 2 or 3. I think there'd been 3 President's Cups to that point. And I didn't really, it was kind of fun to watch. It was a bit of entertainment on TV and I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice. It felt sort of exhibition-like. But then when I was there in 98 and like the sort of the passion in the crowd and the volume of the crowd, I'd never seen golf like that. And I was sort of addicted as like, I hope this is part of my future, you know, because it was an incredibly special tournament in 98. So then fast forward, I think my first one was 07. I'm sure you've done your research. I think it was 2007. I mean, look, everything about it. I mean, I'm playing with Ernie Els and Adam Scott and Vijay Singh and Retief Goosen and all these players. Gary Player was the captain, which was just spending a week with, I mean, the highlight's probably just spending a week with Gary Player. I mean, it was, the guy's just a genuine bona fide legend of the game and like a massive personality. So that was a thrill playing with all those other guys. I mean, this was post winning the US Open. So I was like up there on the world rankings and I was like sort of a respected golfer in the world at this point. But to go into that room of the guys that some of them were in that 1998 team at Royal Melbourne. One of them was Gary's won 9 majors or something. I mean, it was a surreal. And the US captain was Jack Nicklaus. And that was at Royal Montreal, actually, where we happened to the last President's Cup in 24 was. So that was a great thrill. The big memory from that was Mike Weir had been sort of last time's captain. He'd been sort of battling a little bit with his golf sort of mid through 97, and he got a bit of a Hail Mary pick from Gary Player to get into 2007. And we were getting annihilated, unfortunately, in the tournament. But Jack and Gary had got together and given everybody what they wanted, and they gave Mike Weir in Canada a chance to play Tiger Woods in the singles. And I was, I think, 3 or 4 groups behind him in the singles, and there was only one group the Canadians were watching that day, and it was their man trying to play Tiger Woods. This is Tiger Woods at like the peak Tiger Woods in 2007, and Mike Weir, their man, who'd won the Masters a few years before. And there was 11 singles matches with no crowd and one with the whole crowd watching it. It was phenomenal. And I was, 4 or 5 groups behind, and we were listening and getting updates from like the assistant captains and about what was happening with Weezy, what's the score, is he going to beat him? And he ended up beating him on the last, I think, 1 up. And it was just the most unbelievable feeling and experience that we completely got annihilated in the President's Cup and didn't win, but we sort of walked off winners because Weezy had beaten Tiger and it was so special. And he'd made Canada so happy. So that was memorable from the people who were there and other things other than what I did, I think. And that's really, I guess, the hallmark of the President's Cup is it's not about you, it's about everybody else, and that's why they're so special. I mean, Lynch, you would remember like team golf, like pennant, state series golf, like any sort of team golf is just such a level above individual golf. I mean, I played golf because I liked the individual aspect. Like I was never in a footy team as a kid that won. I was never in a cricket team that won. Like it was fun, but it was like, come on, like I kind of want it all to be on me because if we
all
lose,
those other people letting you down.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's that, but it's like, it's just nice to have it all on your own back, I guess. That's sort of the appeal to golf. It's also the pressure of golf, but it's the appeal as well. So we never get that, but to get that every now and then, and in the President's Cup, it's like the pinnacle of that, at least for an international player. I mean, the Ryder Cup's pretty special too. They've all been amazing. And the captains, my other captain was Greg Norman, and I had him in 09 and 11, and that was unbelievable. We had Greg at Royal Melbourne. And then I was assistant for Nick Price and assistant for Ernie Els, and like it's just been spending time with sort of the legends of the international game in close quarters for a week and really getting to know them and creating those relationships is pretty special.
Incredible. So, I mean, you've obviously been a student and a historian of the game. You love the history of the sport. I guess intimately you've been involved in the locker rooms since 2007. Then I'm curious as how the locker room has evolved from an international standpoint in those 15 years or so.
Yeah, look, it's these events have evolved so much. I mean, it was pretty much Gary would come in and say, okay, you two go out and play foursomes. I mean, it wasn't exactly like that. I'm sure he thought about it. And there was some plan, but it was a bit like, hey, there's a foursomes tournament tomorrow at your club. Who should play with who? You know, it was a little bit like that. I mean, we didn't have stats. The data wasn't there. Gary really had been off the tour for 20 however many years. He didn't know everybody. Like you met him on Monday of the tournament, you know. So it was sort of they pieced it together, you know. And I can't speak for like Tomo and all that, but like these events evolved to now where we've got analytics teams and we've got like psychologists sort of working out what personalities are going to work best together, and we have the strategy about how we match up our pairs against the matchup against their pairs, and there's nutritionists and there's gym setups, and there's like golf just in general, as you know, on tour it's an unbelievably sort of no stone unturned sports science approach these days at every sort of turn of the game, and that's happened to this tournament as well. And I think the European Ryder Cup team's got a lot to do with that. I think they needed to level up in order to beat the US. I mean, the US really, the best 12 players are probably generally always on paper, at least better than the Europeans, and they're better than us. So the Europeans had to do something special to learn how to beat them, and they've certainly seemed to have cracked that code. But them getting better at the event has made America get better at the event, and then has made Europe get better at the event. And it's sort of just as evolved as sport does. And the sort of depth of detail that we go to now, in the locker room, it's a very professionally run event. I've already sort of got foursomes and four balls penciled in. I mean, we don't have the team finalized yet, but we've been working on it for 12 months about who's going to fit well with who.
Looking for a whiteboard behind you if I can glean anything that's you're all clear.
It's all on a piece of paper right here. So, and the course. I mean, so much has been done with the course with all the shot leg data, and we can pick players based on how they're going to suit Medinah and what's going to have success. And I guess it starts off with like who should hit off the odds and who should off the evens, but it gets a lot more sophisticated than that. How do we get the players into positions where their strengths can highlight their strengths, and how do you sort of hide their weaknesses? And as I said, the nutrition and the diet. We've got multiple cultures. We've got Koreans and Japanese and Africans and Canadians, and we all like to eat different stuff and eat at different times, and we all speak different languages. And so sort of getting all those pieces together to be one cohesive unit is it has been a work in progress, since in the 90s, I guess.
Just a couple on those. We're going to ask you about the course because you've got an intimate knowledge of it. But when it comes to what you're talking about tactically and preparation-wise, do you get in touch with someone like Luke Donald and just pick his brain about what worked? Because there's going to be a pretty similar lineup, you'd think, for the US, at least those top 6, and then we'll see what the captain's picks turn out to be. But do you pick the brain of a Luke Donald to find out with him what worked, what didn't? I can't imagine that the Europeans would be too bothered in helping the internationals take down the Americans.
No, yeah, for sure. I've definitely talked to Luke. I've talked to McGinley, Thomas Bjorn, Rory McIlroy, Justin Rose, everybody that I've bumped into in the last 2 years. And it goes pre me being captain too. It goes back a long way. We're always sort of trying to pick their brain, and they would definitely sort of be more on our side than they would be on the US side for obvious reasons. I mean, we're playing against their opponent too, Yeah. They don't give everything away. But it's less the detail, the actual things that they do. It's more that the philosophy of sort of that no stone unturned. How do we sort of get a bit more out of this? What can we do better than we did last time? This really worked, but could we do that better? Could we do that better? Do that better? And every time you meet a successful person or a successful entity, they sort of seem to approach it a very similar way. They're pretty pragmatic. If they win or lose, they look back at what worked and what didn't, and they try to improve the things that they didn't do very well, and even sort of polish the diamond of the things that they really did great. What the feeling you get out of the Europeans more than anything is it's amazing that to the level of how granular and the level of detail they go to. I mean, they changed the shampoos in the showers, and they changed the sheets on the beds, and they had like light blocking things under the doors, and kept them all on the same time zone the week before, and amazing level of sort of what can we do to give our guys an advantage. But ultimately, the Europeans, they're born, when you talk to European golfers, and I'm sure Lynchy's done this, I mean, tour players, to them, the Ryder Cup is above majors.
Yeah.
It is, they are born, the playing in a Ryder Cup to them is more important in their individual career than winning a major. And that's not true for anybody else in the world. So that's such a head start. That's such a starting point they've got. So their players all buy in. If Luke says, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do, well, of course we're going to do that, because the Ryder Cup is the Ryder Cup, So it's an amazing thing. I mean, you could probably track that back to Seve, or whether it's the European, US, or even greater history of the US was, these were the people who thought they were too good to be Europeans, and they started a new country. I mean, this thing goes back a long way.
I'm sure someone's tapped into that.
And there's a lot of passion, So it's an amazing thing they do, and we can't help but try to sort of emulate their approach for sure.
I often say it's sort of like Queensland, New South Wales in rugby league. It just seems to mean more to Queensland than it does to New South Wales, for whatever reason that might be. The little brother, big brother, you took our players kind of thing. But America's always got, Geoff, it's ingrained in them that it's all about the flag, it's all about the pride and the passion. The anthem plays, there's tears in eyes and all that kind of stuff. And they can gather collectively under that. How do you create that from an international point of view? You spoke just before about you've got people speaking different languages from all different parts of the world. How do you create that same sense of pride and passion and really look to that as a way to ignite your players, or can you even?
Yeah, look, that's always been the challenge. I think my early days in the President's Cup, it always felt like by Saturday of tournament week, we were together, but it took 4 or 5 days of competition and being around each other and dinner every night to sort of get to that point. And we've progressively, I feel like over the 20 or so years I've been involved, got better and better at getting together earlier in the week. And then Ernie came along in 2019 and said, it was sort of a bit of a reset for the international team. I mean, Pricey had been captain 3 times. We got really close in Korea in 2015. It came down to 1 putt on the last hole, which was close and tough. And then 2017 was a bit of a whitewash the other way. And Ernie came in and said, right, Ernie's one of the more competitive people I've ever met. And he's like, right, I've had enough of this, And Tiger was the opposing captain. And he sort of drew a line in the sand and said, right, like it starts now. And he came up with the shield.
Yeah.
And one of his best friends that he hangs out with a lot and plays a lot of golf with in Florida is an ex-Special Forces SEAL military guy, like proper, like real teamy sort of based sort of human. And they worked together. He worked with him and came up with the shield. And it's got a lot of meanings. It's flags and all that sort of stuff. How it looks like this doesn't really matter. But the idea was, let's give this team one thing to play under, like an identity. And we thought, wow, this is really cool. And I thought, wow, this is great, because we'd always just sort of had the President's Cup PGA Tour sort of logo on our shirts. And that was great because that's the tournament we were playing. But this really sort of created a sort of a collective umbrella we could all get underneath, you know? And the first year it was great. And then when we got back in 22, Trevor had put shields everywhere, and it was like really big part of the thing, and everyone really sort of got together. And then 24, and the shield it's really done what Ernie wanted to do. It's sort of given the guys for the international nations, Korea and Canada and Colombia and South Africa and Australia and New Zealand and Japan and like all these nations, one thing to sort of aim at and say, well, that's the pinnacle of my golf life, will be wearing that. You know, and we actually have I've had kids come up to me saying, I want to wear that thing one day. That's pretty cool and that's special. So it was obviously a lot of groundwork done by a lot of people. And then Ernie came along and it was sort of a stroke of genius, I guess. And that really, it's amazing what a symbol can do. You know, when you just put it on a t-shirt, you put it on a hat, it is this one collective sort of symbol of brotherhood and like togetherness, and it's been really powerful for us. So that really is probably the best thing that we've done to sort of get these cultures together, you know.
You mentioned all these great names and all these incredible players over the journey, and you talk about that locker room sort of feeling. I'm curious, you know, Adam Scott's going to be right there probably again this year. He's played just about all of them. What sort of gravitas does he hold amongst the locker room? And can you just talk to his incredible longevity? And then on the flip side of that, you've got Ryan Fox, who's just won an Open Championship. I mean, he must be pretty excited to have a bloke like him on the team as well.
Yeah. I'll do Foxy first because Scotty deserves a bit of airtime.
Sorry to jam them together.
we might have to do a second podcast for the Adam Scott Appreciation Hour.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, right? But I mean, Foxy, he was really close to 22 to getting picked, but he was playing in Europe, and it's really tough to pick a guy who's playing in Europe for this team because it's not apples to apples, you know. Is a 10th place in Europe the same as a 10th in the US? And it's really, really difficult, even if the sort of numbers line up. It's like, well, I'll go with the known quantity that we know. And it's also, if you're playing on the PGA Tour, you're standing up there against Scott Scheffler and Xander Schauffele every week. You're not intimidated by being around them. But if you're not around them very much, I mean, so we got unlucky in 22. 24, you're sort of in a lull. He was close. And the whole last 2 years, we were just hoping that Foxy would, and he was hanging in there. He was in a great spot. Like, he was like, I was going to pick him. I'm going to pick him. And then he goes and wins the Open, and in the style that he did it too.
Seriously.
Incredible. So good. And now he's like, he totally locked himself up. He's second on our list. Yeah. He's going to be a massive addition to the locker room. I mean, he's as advertised. I mean, the Foxy that you see is Foxy. I mean, he is a solid guy. I'm sure Lynchy's played with him. I don't know. Like, he is a solid human being. He gets better. He's got better every year. He's clearly built for the big moments. If you were going to design a President's Cup player, like, he'd be really high on your list of designing someone like Ryan Fox. So that's really exciting. And Adam Scott, like, what do you say? I mean, our careers started similar to time. I mean, he's 3 years younger than me, but like, I went over to Europe in 99, as I sort of referenced before. And he followed over and played a few invites as an amateur. And then in 2000, he turned pro and got his card straight away on invites. And like, he's basically been top 50 in the world ever since. And he played his first one, I guess it's in 2003. So effectively his whole career, he's been in the President's Cup. And it's effectively his whole career he's played in majors, like, which is just off the charts, longevity and consistency. I mean, it's so hard to even get in one major, let alone play 100 in a row, and to have that to play at that level for that long it's beyond. I mean, the desire that he still has and how hard he works.
What's he like
impressive.
in the locker room? What sort of attention does he command?
Oh, it's crazy. Like he's evolved. Obviously, like early days, he was one of the youngsters, and when you're a youngster in a room with big personalities like say Ernie Els and Vijay Singh and Cabrera and guys like that, you speak when you're spoken to, and no one's going to listen to you when you're a kid. But as it's gone on, the last 2 or 3, probably since 2019, he's got more and more vocal. And he's been given more space by the whole team to speak. And the more and more people listen, and the last couple, when he stands up to speak, everybody stops, and you can just see they are all wide-eyed and taking it all in, and they're all feeling like I was when Gary Player was talking. Like they're all feeling like Adam Scott's talking. I got to listen to this. There's some wisdom in this. So he commands the highest level of respect in the locker room. He commands all the attention of the team, and he's much more vocal, and he's very obviously clearly should he make this team, which it looks very, very likely. This is going to be his 12th President's Cup. I mean, that's 11 goes at this. He's got a lot of experience, and he's worth listening to because he's got a lot to add to the conversation. So yeah, he's a massive part of it. He's sort of like assistant captain light. You know what I mean? He's player captain, you know what I mean? Because he's got such a level of experience.
Well, we've got a few more about selection and how you go about that in a moment, but you mentioned about what the Europeans had to go through recently, Bethpage Black. Crowds were one of the biggest talking points to come out of that. Do you put any planning or thought into what may confront you from a crowd point of view? I mean, Chicago, a bit different to New York, but is that something that's in your thinking already that you might plan to just get in front of them about what to expect, or you don't think you need to with a group this good and this experience? How do you manage that side of things before and maybe during if it does get a bit feisty?
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit. I mean, we're certainly going to talk about it a fair bit, like in the week or two leading up and during the week. Chicago's a different city to New York, as you said. They'll be very loud.
Rivals themselves.
Yeah, they are rivals themselves.
They might just want to be better just to stick it to New York. Look how good we are.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, there'll be a bit of that.
Let's
for
hope.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think they'll be obviously it'll be very one-sided and it'll be very loud. They're great sports fans. I mean, look, it's just the Bulls and the Chicago Cubs and the Bears. I mean, they're a bit like Melbourne, Chicago, in that they're just total frothers on sport. You know, they just love sport. Yep. And it's an incredible city like that. It's quite a multicultural city though, so we will probably have a little bit like Melbourne too. We will have, I would think, a little bit of support in the crowd, but it'll be very loud and very one-sided, and we've talked about that. But I don't think there's a couple of different things. I think they're different cities, and I think Chicago is slightly different to New York. New York's like that. When we play Bethpage at an individual event, they're like that. Like it's just a different place to play. It's like Bay 13, you know, like it's different. But I think also the Europeans, there's a bit more history and animosity in that tournament. We don't have the animosity because we haven't really been beating them too often. So I don't think they hate us quite as much. So I think we're starting off a little bit sort of, there's the cute little international team. So we'll be quiet, but we're not actually going to get stuck into them. And who's going to get stuck into Adam Scott? You know what I mean? They're like, it's a different energy that our team brings and the European brings just from the historic point of view. But we'll talk about it. And look, energy is energy out of the crowd. If you can respond anyway. Sometimes when you're playing in an away in things like this, silencing the crowd is like one of the best sounds you can hear. You know, when it's been loud all day and you hold a big putt on top of their guy and it's just dead silent, that can really give you a boost because you're planned for it and you're ready for it. So we'll talk about it and we'll plan it up. And obviously we would love to not give them anything to antagonize them. I think that's the wrong move in modern day sport, to antagonize a crowd that's ready to attack you. But we'll talk about it. But we just have to look. This is the advantage they get. This is their advantage this year. They get to play a home game, and we've just got to handle that the best we can. And we get the home crowd in Melbourne in 28.
So you mentioned we're in Illinois, Chicago. OCM, Ogilvy Cocking Mead, your firm has been redesigning or restoring the Medinah Country Club for really a couple of years now. I'm curious, obviously, given your intimate knowledge, professional players adapt very, very quickly, but a couple of holes that you think are going to be very pivotal in terms of match play, and what do you think is the biggest change that OCM have sort of made to the golf course that obviously the Europeans came over and beat the Americans at in 2012?
All right, to sort of help you with your first sentence, it's part restoration, part renovation, and part redesign. Cool. I would say
3 R's.
The 3 R's, yeah. The first 12 holes, the shot against the golf course, or at least what Medinah came to us with, was they thought they had one of the toughest courses in America. And historically, it was a really difficult golf course for professionals to play. And they thought it was set up really tough. It was long, it was narrow, long rough, fast greens. And in 2017 or 18, they had the BMW there, and Justin Thomas came along and shot like 27 or 28 under par, and they were like, but the members couldn't play it. Like, it was totally unplayable for them. It was too much course. And so they thought, well, like, we want to bring Medinah back to where its sort of reputation was. And the sort of the pitch or the brief was, we really love this to stand the test of time against professionals. We're aspirational to hold really big time tournaments. We want that to be part of the sort of future of Medinah number 3, but we also want our members to be able to play this place because it's just too hard right now. So it was kind of an awkward thing. I mean, it's to try to make it easier for the member and harder for us, which is pretty doable, to be honest. It sounds something like they're sort of contradictory ideas, but they generally go together. So anyway, that was sort of the brief. And the first 12 holes were not really changed. They're all in the same spot. And we just rebuilt the holes, like moved the bunkers and rebuilt all the greens, and a couple of trees came out to help grow grass and give a bit more space. But then the last 6 holes, one of the sort of common criticisms of Medinah was there was 3 par 3s, and they were all about 200 yards, 180 meters, and they were all straight over water, with water on the front edge of the green. And there was 3, and they were very similar. And when you have that sort of hole, that's really hard for the average player because they have to fly the ball 180 meters to get the ball dry. And the average player really struggles with that. And then they hit it over the back, and then they're in the bunker and they can't get it up and down. Whereas the pro has no problem hitting it 180 meters in the air and controls his distance really well. And they were sort of 3 boring holes for pros and 3 really hard holes for the amateurs. So in order to fix that, the second hole is still similar. I mean, we rebuilt it, but it's the same hole. And it was 13 and 17 were the 2 other ones. We rerouted the course from 13 onwards and sort of went along the water and went diagonally across the water as opposed to going straight across the water, which sort of gave a little bit more interest, and it sort of made it a little bit more approachable for the member. But we thought it was a better way to sort of finish the golf course. So that's the redesigned version of the R, those last 6 holes. It's a lot wider, it's a lot firmer. So it's more, it's someone from the Sandbelt would go, look, it's like, this is what golf courses should be like. It wouldn't really that shocking. But in America, when they're really used to sort of long, narrow, green, rough, big trees, like, it was a bit of a, wow, this looks easier at first, but then the pros are going to get out there and there's a bit to it for them. Hopefully, we're gonna find out. I find it more difficult than I did before, but we'll see. Yeah. And as far as the match play, I'll go on President's Cup numbers because they've rerouted a little bit. They're teeing off Medinah number 5 and they're finishing on Medinah number 4, and so they're going around in that order. But I'll talk about it in President's Cup numbers. I think the 4th hole, first of all, the first hole is going to be fascinating.
Yeah.
So there's out of bounds on the left edge of the fairway all the way up the hole. And there's fairway bunkers that probably the pros can carry on the left, and then up the right, there's sort of more fairway bunkers that their driver's going to go in. So if they want to hit a driver, they have to take on the out of bounds. They have to hit it kind of close to the out of bounds fence. And if they're a bit too scared to do that, which off the first tee is very understandable, they're going to have to hit a 3-wood or less than driver and go out to the right. But you're getting quite a disadvantage from not hitting the driver up the fairway. So in match play, it's going to be very interesting. If the first guy hits driver and hits it out of bounds, he hands the other guy the hole basically straight away. So But if he lays it up or he plays safe, he's not going to make birdie, but he'll probably make a par. Well, now the guy, his opponent's got an opportunity to I could take advantage here if I hit driver up the out of bounds fence, but then he's taking the risk. So I think that, given with all the stress that happens on the first tee and the pressure, that's going to be a fascinating hole to it's going to be a fascinating hole to watch. I'm glad I'm not actually. We didn't build it to the first hole, like I said. It's the fifth hole, but it's turned out to be sort of a really cool start to the President's Cup. The fourth hole is going to be interesting. It's sort of a 3 at Kingston Heath, 15 at Victoria, sort of short par 4. You can hit anything from 6 on to driver. And sort of pick your poison, really. If you hit a driver and you hit it great, you can hit it on the green. But if you miss the green to the right, you're probably not going to get your pitch shot onto the green because there's some pretty long grass and it slopes away from you. So decisions there. And again, in match play, that's going to be interesting to see what the first guy does, whether he tries to hit driver. But again, if he hits it right of the green and leaves it bad, then he's sort of handing the other guy the hole a little bit, just letting him hit 6-iron wedge onto the green. So there's going to be a few moments like that. The 12th hole in the President's Cup's another sort of short one over water at a big angle, and it's sort of bite off as much as you can chew. Again, holes that you would think have a massive advantage having the honour, but if you have the honour and hit a bad shot, you've just flipped the advantage all the way to the guy who's going second. So I think there's going to be some interesting decisions and some should I hit driver or 6-iron and decisions to be made, and I think that's compelling watching, right? Like when pros don't know what to do. So hopefully it works out the way I'm describing it, but that's what it feels like it's going to do.
I mean, the options for better players is what creates the doubt, right? That's exactly as you're designing it. Sounds very exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and match play, you're playing against the other guy's ball, right? You're not trying to have the lowest score after 72 holes, and so like what your opponent does sort of directly influences what you do. And when you have sort of such variety of results on holes like that, then it's going to create some interesting situations, hopefully.
So, Geoff, just when it comes to like those kind of choices and then putting this team together, what are the secret herbs and spices when it comes to all of this? You've got your 6 automatics, and then you've got the big decisions. I'd imagine there's a few different categories that you're working alongside, but just how many different ingredients do you consider when you consider picking someone? Because I would be really surprised if you just say, no, I just picked the best player. I don't imagine it's that simple.
No, it's not. I guess there's probably three or four main things. First of all, I mean, personality is very important. Are they going to fit in the team room? What are they going to bring? If you got 2 equal players and one's going to bring a lot of energy to the locker room and the other guy isn't, you probably bring that guy. So I mean, that's important. The energy they're going to bring and their personality. Does everybody know this guy? Is he going to fit in the group? That's an aspect for sure. Obviously, general golf skill is clearly
helps.
Clearly, really important. And we sort of, we've been looking a little bit at sort of obviously past President's Cup history, match play record. We don't get a lot of match play record now because there's not much match play golf on tour, but we can look at anyone who's played President's Cups before. We can sort of, did they bring much last time or the time before, or like what's sort of their record and what did we see out of them last time they were here? So that's a part of it too. And I'm not going to give any secrets away. We've got a pretty good idea, but like what's going to have success at Medinah? Like what skills? I mean, you have long drivers who don't hit it very straight. You've got straight hitters who don't hit it very far. You've got great iron players, great wedge players, great putters, all that sort of thing. We sort of have our sense of what's going to have success at Medinah, like what's going to be the most rewarded skill sets, So we look for players who fill those boxes with rewarded skill sets. And then they're like, you get down to those last couple, it's like foursomes is a very sort of unique game. And you have to consider, do they fill out another good player? Do they sort of fit into a foursome things really well? And foursomes is probably the game where sort of unique skill sets are really valuable because you can, like Medinah's a little bit lopsided. One of them gets 3 par 3s, one of them gets 1 par 3. There's going to be, one of them has sort of slightly more drivers, one of them's going to have more iron shots sort of thing. So like, can we get a great driver to get all the drivers paired with a great iron player. Say that great driver's not that great at iron. Can we get that great iron player? Can we get them together to sort of hide their weaknesses and maximize their strengths? And there's obviously there's lots more aspects than that. But in the simple terms, we would pick guys. Sometimes we'll pick a guy who complements someone and makes them a great foursomes part. They might not necessarily be great for foursomes because they have a weakness, but if you can fill a player in who covers up their weakness with a strength, all of a sudden they'd make a great bond. The sum of the parts is greater than So it's what succeeds at the course, what succeeds in foursomes, specifically to the course, personality, what they're bringing to the team room, their record this year, under pressure, how well did they do on Sundays when they were in the mix? I mean, there's a whole lot to it, their President's Cup record. So there's a lot of ingredients, and obviously there's a lot of stuff I'm not going to tell you about, like specifics, but like that's sort of the recipe, you know?
So with that, I mean, it's such an interesting time in golf at the moment. The President's Cup had the ability, if they wanted to pick live players. And we saw Bryson was almost put up as the total. He was, it sort of put him up as at the forefront of everything. President's Cup can't do that. But without getting into the politics of it all, do you look at some of the live guys? I mean, a guy like Lucas Herbert, who's just playing lights out at the moment, country Victorian, grew up playing team sports as well. Do you look at some of the guys that live and go, oh, they'd be perfect for this at the moment?
Yes and no. I mean, look, the international team, both teams got hurt in this tournament specifically for the live thing going on. I mean, the US lost Brooks and Bryson and probably a few others. We lost Cam and Louis and Schwartzel and Munoz and new guys like Lucas, who weren't in the mix 4 years ago, but now they'd be well in the mix right now. So we lost the ability to pick those, which is sort of disappointing. That was the nature of the Live Tour, though. They sort of hunted international players a little bit more. So I think that was just unlucky from our respect. It's a shame that it's lasted so long, and that the relationship between Live and the PGA Tour isn't at the point where we could pick from them, because it'd be great. I mean, Lucas would be fantastic on the team. Fantastic. Like, he had a great played a lot of pennant in Melbourne, great match player, really good down the stretch, really good under pressure, and he's playing some of the best golf in the world. Had a great British Open. He's got himself in the top 50 in the world playing on the Live Tour, which is really tough to do. So, he's playing some of the best golf in the world. So, yeah, it's a shame. But I've always known that they weren't an option. They pretty much told me 18 months ago, I said, any chance? And they said, and they said, as it stands right now, no chance. So I it's like when you know something's not an option, you don't think about it anymore. So it's not that disappointing just sitting here, but when you high level sit back and go, wow, I mean, the internationals could field a pretty good team if we could pick from the entire pool of international golfers that are out there. Yeah.
Now, Geoff, we've seen, courtesy of Full Swing, and something I wasn't aware of, just how big a role the wives of the captains play from a Ryder Cup point of view. Is it a similar situation with the President's Cup? Lynchy and I know Brie. I've commentated golf events with her before, an absolute star in her own right. How big a role is she playing in the build-up to all this, and what role will she play during the President's Cup?
Yeah, it's a massive role, really. I mean, these events have become so big. The wives are a massive part of it. We also have the caddy wives. There's a lot of gifting, and we get a fair bit of freedom on the uniforms and stuff. So Brie, to be fair, has probably done more work than me with the which is probably normal for most relationships.
Which is fair.
Yeah, let's be honest.
Totally. Yeah.
As far as the logistics and the details of all that sort of stuff, I mean, I'm focused on what players do we want on the team, and how do we get the foursomes pairings together, and how do we crack the code that Medinah is, and that competitive aspect, organising dinners with the boys and stuff. But as far as how the week is going to play out, and they have a wives lunch together with the US wives, and a friendly before the tournament, and they have their own dinner, and we have a big dinner on Tuesday night, and they have uniforms, and they're a massive part of the team. And Brie is a much more organised plan out human than I am. So she's been really good at helping keep me organised on, there's a lot of benchmarks on this timeline. You got to have the clothing sorted, we got to get the food sorted, we got to get this sorted, we got to get that sorted. And she's been great at keeping me in line, just not thinking about skill sets between
Yeah,
150
7, I'm
yards and
gonna need someone
170
who's
yards or whatever
yeah.
it is. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's like strokes gained putting from 30 feet. Like she's
Sure.
Yeah.
all the stuff that I wouldn't even think is that important, but like she's great with events, and she's been, as I said, she was done more work than me, to be fair.
You mentioned how, like, to every eon, every degree the European side go, it seems like the international side is doing the exact same thing. We've seen you and Bree down at coffee roasting places. Like, these things definitely matter when it comes to that week. I'm sure they're things that, as a player, you probably don't appreciate how much time and effort goes into organising, as you mentioned, like all the food and all the catering and all the coffee and making you feel as comfortable as possible so you can perform your best, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, look, I think one of the things that is really important to this thing is make it a really, really special week, you know. So we've gone out of the way, yeah, we've got our own coffee, we got a custom shield blend, you know, and we found a coffee roaster in Chicago, and we sort of did all that, and we've got our chef who's Korean American, so he can cook the kimchi and rice and the stuff that like the Koreans want, and he's really good at Japanese food, but he makes great food for us. And so he's a big part of it. And Bree was a big part of sort of organizing all that. And it's like, ultimately, if we give these guys the best week of their life, it's not just the competitive thing is like really the sort of the drug that the golfers are after, you know, like it's so special, that first tee and the big moments, but all of it, they're going to go away, and like the players who aren't in it are going to think, oh, I really want to be in that. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
They did that and they did that. And like, it just makes it more sought after to be in the team. And that's a big part of all this stuff. And you just want to make it the most special week of their life. And like, if having someone like Bree along board who's much more conscientious on things like that it's been amazing.
You've had a great match play record yourself,
Yes.
done really well in the singles. Obviously, I think you mentioned a lot of this, the pennant interstate series has a lot to do with it. You've won match play championships. First of all, what do you feel like makes you a good match player? And second of all, are you excited by the prospect of potentially having some more match play come back to professional golf at the highest level?
Yeah, I mean, look, match play is my favorite version of the game by a long way. I don't know. There's something about that's the true competitive thing. It's not about how pretty your swing is, or like how far you hit it, or this like sort of crafting out a score, or like it's just like beat this guy on this hole. And it's like there's a psychological aspect to it as well, which is great fun. I love. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like you mentioned it, like pennant, I think is an amazing sort of grounding in the art of match play. I mean, I was playing pennant from like 14 all the way through 21. So, I mean, that's 7 matches a year for 7 years. I mean, that's a lot of match play. And you're playing, when you're a 14-year-old and you're playing sort of the Jim Kirby type guy, you know what I mean, who's been around the block, he's been playing for a long time, he's got all the tricks. You know, like he's not rattling the keys in his pocket, but he's like, he's certainly making it very awkward to play against. You learn from that, and that's a great school. And it's like certainly sort of some of that stuff well within the spirit of the game, but there's a lot of things that you could do in match play that give you an advantage on top of just hitting good golf shots. And I think, and the state series was great too. I mean, playing against every year you'd play against the very best players, especially if you're playing number 1 or 2 for Victoria. You're playing against everyone I played against in that state series ended up having great pro careers, right? So you're playing against the best that Australia has in match play, and like you're doing it for your team, so you have to win, you know.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know what it is. It always, for me, it just got my head out of my golf swing and more present. It's all about this shot's the only thing that matters. Like you can't get moody and think about the 4th hole a few holes ago, or you're not like, oh, what about the 15th hole coming up? You don't really, it got me so present and so like, well, he's hit a good shot, so I have to hit a good shot. I've got no choice. Hit a good shot. It wasn't like, well, I can work on my backswing now because I'll just wiggle it up there. You can't just wiggle it up there because he's 10 feet from the hole and you have to hit a good shot. And it just sort of got me mentally in such a better place. And I just, probably because of that, I just enjoyed the aspect of it because it got me where I should have been all the time, you know. And it was just standing is sort of mano a mano on the first tee, like, all right, today, you or me, let's go. Like, it's a bit like a prize fight, you know, like it's like, what have you got? Like, I'll give you everything I've got. You give me everything you've got and we'll see how we end up. Like and you're under pressure so much more. I mean, the funnest part of
that's the thing.
professional golf is the last 9 holes on Sunday, or sometimes maybe on Friday, you got a birdie the last to make the cut or whatever. That can kind of happen. But mostly the last 9 holes on Sunday, or the last few holes when you really got a chance to win the tournament, you've got a must-make putt. And you wait 4 months for that opportunity, and then you've got it. But match play happens every hole. Like the guy, he goes and makes a 15-footer on you, you've got a 6-footer, otherwise you go one down. Well, you have to make it. Like, it's a must-make putt on the very first hole, and it happens on every hole, on almost every shot. And I just think that's really what competitive golfers sign up for, is put me under pressure and let me go, and match play just gives you that in spades. And for that reason, it was my favourite, still is, version of golf. And plus, I mean, I know everybody in Australia, will go home, will go up to their golf course every day and just play Stableford and grind out 28 points and put their card in and But really, the people who really love golf...
You've been reading my stats, haven't you?
If you really love golf, you'll do that maybe to keep your handicap ticking over, but you'll play a 4-ball with your friends. You'll play you'll play matches inside your group. It's so much more fun beating your mate and having 28 points than having 36 points and not having a match, I think. I mean, because again, you're under pressure. You've got a hole apart. You get bragging rights for 24 hours or for 7 days. It's I don't know. There's just something about it that
it also probably helps bring back some of these golf courses that are sort of lost to distance a little bit as well, right? So interesting golf courses, you can have ridiculous pins if you're playing mono a mono, as you said, or you can have
ridiculous pins, and
you can have whatever.
And it doesn't matter what you're shooting. No one ever remembers, you tell the guys in the President's Cup, it's I don't care if you shoot 8 under or 8 over, just win. It doesn't matter what score you shoot. Just win the point. And you could play short golf courses, long golf. It doesn't matter if you both take 4 shots to get to the green or you both drive a par 4. It doesn't matter. You just have to beat that guy on that hole. So every golf course is a good match play golf course, really. It's a fantastic version of the game. I mean, it's unfortunately sort of commercially and for TV, it doesn't really work, and there's a lot of reasons why it doesn't, and it really doesn't. But I mean, the interesting thing is in stroke play, stroke play doesn't really get interesting until it becomes like match play. You watch, it's the golf nerds love watching the golf swings and seeing the good golf shots, and it's sort of, you follow along, but you're really just voyeuristically watching golfers play golf until the last 9 holes when it comes down to 2 guys and they're at each other. That's when it gets really compelling viewing. It's a shame that it can't commercially work, because I think it's a fantastic version of the game, and it would create so many more little rivalries and stuff out here. It'd be fascinating.
Should it be? I mean, when we're talking about, because we're at a moment in international golf, and this isn't on our sheet, but you bring this up, and golf's in a very interesting place right now, and you're sort of only limited by your own imagination of where you want to take the game. There's been a rift in it. It now is up to everybody involved to say, okay, well, how do we make this a better thing for players, for fans, for all the stakeholders in it? Talk about a 5th major, and how do you make each major its own sort of identity? Do we lose something by not having a match play major, or at the very least the Tour Championship being, decided by match play?
I don't know if you lose anything. I mean, you get an outside investor like the PIF was coming in with $1 billion or $2 million. $2 billion at golf. That shows that if it's going all right, they think this is a pretty good spot to put some money. It didn't work out, and maybe that's execution or whatever, for whatever reason, I don't know. But I think golf is going pretty well. I mean, the prize purses in America especially are sort of outrageous these days. So clearly there's a lot of interest. It might not reflect in the ratings, but the sponsors are still writing the checks. So it's clearly the golf is in a pretty good spot like that. I think highlighting sort of great drama like that, putting some match play in would be sort of advantageous, I would have thought. I mean, I think the majors I think the PGA's move to May has been really good for it. I think the Open was always going to hang on great. It's nice that the Open's last, because in some ways the Open is the major, right?
Yeah.
And the Masters is the Masters. I mean, that's just always going to be special. And the US Open's the US Open, and that's always going to be special. So, I think that sort of cadence of majors now, we get one a month from the Masters, I think is really kind of cool. That's done a lot. As far as the 5th major, I mean, it's arbitrary, really. What makes a major is the players really want to win it. You can call it whatever you like. But if you poll the players to say what tournament would you like most want to have on your resume at the end of your career, and obviously the 4 majors will come first, but whatever's next, that's the 5th major. Like, and it's really up to the tournaments to become the one that is respected by the player. Because if the players respect it, then the fans will respect it. You know, if every time someone answers a question says like, no, I have to win the Australian Open, that's the tournament I have to be on, and that goes on for 5 or 6 years, then that's going to become the 5th most important tournament in the world because the players have decided that it is. You can't just allocate this as a 5th major because we want it to be. And people have been trying to do that for years, you know. So it's, I mean, the Players' Championship is probably the one at the moment that, like, that's really one that people, at least PGA Tour players, they really want that on their resume. And that's a really special tournament. But for an Australian, I think the Australian Open's a more important tournament, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally. I think it's all about the events. Just put on good events, put them on good golf courses, run really great tournaments, and get the players, create situations that the players really, really, really want to win, and then they're all going to come and they're all going to play their hardest and they're going to talk great about it, and then they'll evolve into great tournaments. I mean, I don't. Yeah. Match play is interesting, and I think the Tour Championship finishing, if you had the, whatever it is, the $20 million bonus or whatever it's going to be, like coming down to 2 guys coming down the last 9 holes, that's going to be good viewing, right? That's going to be amazing. Yeah.
I think
incredible.
The on-course experience for people going and watching golf tournaments, match play, is by far and away what you would want to go and watch probably. But to your point on holding great golf courses on great tournaments, we've got a great run of Australian Opens down here in Melbourne. Obviously, Kingston Heath this year. In a couple of years' time, the President's Cup will be at Kingston Heath. We got Peninsula Kingswood coming up for the Aussie Open, and this year we're probably going to have, obviously, Rory McIlroy, the defending Masters champion, and likely Ryan Fox, defending Open champion. I'm not sure we've had that for a long time, but talk to your excitement about golf being back on the Sandbelt. You live on Royal Melbourne's property, basically, and your excitement for the President's Cup, obviously, in a couple of years coming back to Australia.
Yeah, look, it's a good era for Australian golf. I'll even put Live Adelaide. That's been great.
Yeah.
You know, that's sort of maybe brought a bunch of new eyes to, gone to a market that we don't go to very often, Adelaide. It's probably been a little bit neglected by golf, as good a golf city as it is. That's been great. It's brought a lot of new eyes, different viewers who wouldn't normally maybe go to an Australian Open. They've gone to another tournament, and now maybe they're playing golf, or maybe they're now interested in looking at Royal Melbourne because they've seen that. So I think that was great too. Totally. But yeah, Royal Melbourne, I mean, if the asset that we have, we can't pay enough money to get these players. I mean, it's a long way in an airplane at the end of a long PGA Tour year or European career year. It's a long way. We got high tax. We don't have the sort of economic sort of situation where we can put up $30 million US and get all these players to come play. So the value that we have as a money can't buy is the golf courses. Royal Melbourne, Kingston Heath, Peninsula, Victoria, like input Royal Adelaide and stuff in that. New South Wales. I mean, we have some bucket list golf courses that golfers around the world want to come play. And last year proved it. I mean, there'll be a lot of people who think, well, it's because Rory was there, that's why it was a special tournament. But I would argue that it was because it was at Royal Melbourne that it was a special tournament. He clearly put it on steroids, and like he sold it out, and he clearly like amplified the value. But the magic is Royal Melbourne. He came because it was at Royal Melbourne. So that can't get forgotten. That if it was somewhere else, he's like, I could go somewhere else for my $1 million or whatever it is, you know. But like, I want to win a golf tournament at Royal Melbourne. I want to win a golf tournament at Kingston Heath. Like, that is our value. And I think the fact that we're there now, which is great. Also, another guy who is most likely going to be in my team, Corey Connors, is committed to play both of these tournaments. He's one of the best players in the world. Like, last year when it was at Royal Melbourne, there was a fair bit of FOMO over here in the US. It's like, I wish I knew that was going to be at Royal Melbourne. I would have gone. And they're calling their managers saying, don't let me miss that one again. And so this year you're going to get a better feel because Kingston Heath is one of those things. Peninsula Kingswood is going to do the same thing because that's eye candy and that's developing an amazing reputation around the world. So if we can keep it on, for the most of the part, if we could keep it on courses like this, as I said, it'll become one of those tournaments that it'll become one of those tournaments that players, they want to win a tournament at Royal Melbourne or Kingston by the end of their career. That's one of those, I've got to do things, and you do that makes them come, and then you can sort of ride out. You can't stay at those courses every year, but like 3 or 4 out of 5, you're at some place like that. Like the Australian Open's just going to go like that. And then the knock-on effect of that is it makes the PGA so great, and it makes the 2 weeks before it so great. And then all of a sudden the world is looking at Australia in November and December. It's like, well, what's happening down there? Because that's where the real golf is at this period of the years, So I think we're in a really good spot. It was, obviously there was a lot of stars lined up. I mean, I think Rory was lined up before he even won the Masters for Royal Melbourne last year, and then he wins the Masters, and then he wins it again, and then now we've got Foxy winning. So a lot of good things happening for Australian golf, but it's I think if we can stick around those top 4 or 5 bucket list golf courses, I think anything you put around that is going to work.
What you say is, I mean, we used to have that, didn't we? I mean, I just commentated the North Coast Open, and Gary Player's name is on that trophy. We used to get those guys coming out, but it felt like it was almost back, Geoff, because I've said to Ryan a few times and on this podcast that I'll never, ever forget the feeling of standing on the fairway doing the commentary, and just across was Rory and Adam, and then back on the tee was Danny Willett and Cam, and then you were finishing up on 18. So we had 5 major winners on the same hole at a Royal Melbourne that was sold out, record crowds, phenomenal. So it felt like we were getting close to those halcyon days again. So that was really, really special. Speaking of special, I don't know if you're a big one for synergy, but I mentioned before that of the 3 other President's Cup captains that have been Aussies, David Graham and Peter Thompson are the other 2, both Victorians, both major winners, both grew up playing on 9-hole courses. There's a bit of synergy there. What would it mean? What would it mean to you to join Peter Thompson as a Victorian, Australian captain of the President's Cup to get a win on home soil if the job's still yours come 2028? What would that mean to you from a personal point of view?
Well, firstly, well done on connecting the 9 growing up on a 9-hole course. That was very impressive. Good stuff there. Yeah, look, it would be nuts. I mean, I did grow up at Cheltenham Golf Club, and then as you do, you jump across the fence to Victoria if you can play pennant and like that. And that's been my club. And Peter Thompson was around a lot early days when I was there, and I didn't listen as much as I should, because he's probably the wisest man I've ever talked to about golf. It was so simple to him, and it was so straightforward, and it was too simple for me when I was a kid. But now I find myself opening Peter Thompson books and reading his quotes, because it's like he knew it all along. Like he was just waiting for me to work it out, Was certainly one of my golf heroes, and the longer I've gone on in golf, the more I respect like how impressive he was. And when you talk to the guys who were on that team, and I've known most of them over the years, they've got nothing but like, wow, what a captain, So yeah, to even be doing it is cool, be a captain. But to win it and like to be the next guy after Tomo and David Graham, I know. Look, I didn't know him for the longest time, but I've come to know him really well. The last 10 years, I've got a lot of time for David Graham, and he's a fantastic guy too. So I see him a fair bit. So it would be great. Like he's one of Tomo and David Graham, 2 of like probably the current generation don't really, if you don't know golf nerd and like dive into the history, you're probably like, who are we talking about here? But like legends of the game in Australia and the world. So yeah, just the fact that I'm doing it is amazing. But yeah, winning it in America, being the first captain to win it in America would be pretty cool.
That would be it. I mean, some synergy there as well.
Probably a bigger achievement, probably, but it would be obviously winning at home. We could do 2.
Let's do it.
We don't have
Absolutely.
To just stick to one.
Back to back. Let's do it.
Absolutely. There's some synergy there with Medinah and the European side getting over the line as well. So
yeah, there is,
mate. Thank you so much for joining us. We're gonna finish up here with a couple of traditions that we sort of run on the Course Language podcast. We've got a quick 9, which is a quick fire 9 questions that we're going to start with, and then have a little bit of a think. We've got our last segment, which is a Course Language Confessional. So
safe space.
Safe space. Something funny that's happened on the course, something that sort of jumps out of mind. There's been a lot of bathroom-related incidences.
A lot of toilet stuff.
A lot of toilet stuff. But something funny or something that you would tell your playing partners or chat about with your playing partners after a round of golf. But we'll start with the quick 9, mate. First question is, Your earliest golfing influence?
Dad, I would say.
Second question, age in which you first broke par? Do you remember?
I think I was 13 or 12 or 13.
Bloody hell.
13 probably.
Should have started earlier, Sammy. See, this is the thing.
Yeah.
Your lowest round, and how many hole-in-ones have you had?
I've had 61 2 or 3 times. Proper 61s, like past 72s. I've never even had a 59 watch, so 61. And my hole-in-ones are 9, but I only got 1 in a tournament. The rest of them are like just practice rounds and having a hit, and like, I mean, they count. I mean, a one's a one, but like only one sort of.
Where was the tournament one?
That was at Loch Lomond in Scotland on the 11th hole.
Beautiful.
And it was a 3-iron. Yeah, it was a good shot.
3-iron, hole in one.
Oh,
yeah, no, it was the best. The best one was the one in the tournament too. So yeah. Oh, I've had a double. I had an albatross at Honda Classic once, but I didn't see the ball go in.
Yeah.
So
still counts. Still picked it up out of the hole.
Yeah,
mate. What are you playing at the moment? What's in your bag?
I have Titleist T100s. I have a 48-degree Vokey, a 54 S grind Vokey for the golf nerds, and a 58 T grind. 58, I'd bounce between 58 and 60. I sort of would prefer to open a 58 2 degrees than have a 60 square, if that makes sense. For the golf, for the short game nerds, it does. I don't know. I've got the new driver, 10.5, or 10 degrees, whatever it is, 10 degrees.
Yeah.
I've got the same Ventus black shaft in it that's been in there for, I don't even know. It's 4 generations of driver.
Now.
Like whenever the Ventus, it's been in there. I just keep moving the old shaft into the new head, and I've done that like 3 or 4 drivers in a row. The 3-wood is the new one, 16.5 D2, I think. And the 7, it's a 7-wood. I'm one of those.
Yeah. It's all right. Me too.
That's great.
21 degrees. 21
Not
degrees.
that that's going to make you feel any better.
21 degrees, but the people who understand the sure fit hosel, it's at D1, so it's actually down to 20.25 degrees. And Scotty Cameron Newport 2. Nothing too fancy there, just a normal Newport 2.
That's been in there for a long time as well. Favourite course? It's a hard question, obviously, but
well, I mean, there's best and there's favourite, but my favourite is if you gave me one to play for the rest of my life, I'd play a place called Swinley Forest.
Yeah,
which is, everyone usually looks puzzled. It's near Sunningdale. It's a Heath Lane course near London, near Sunningdale and Wentworth and all that. Swinley Forest. Harry Colt, who designed Sunningdale and St George's Hill and had a big part in Pine Valley, he described it as his least bad course. So it was his favorite. It was his favorite, and his description was his least bad course. So Swinley Forest is just paradise.
Genius.
It's paradise. Yeah, it's amazing.
Beautiful.
Favorite golfer to watch, and you can take this back to your childhood as well, and your favorite golfer to be paired with in your professional golfing days.
Historically, I would have said I was just totally addicted to watching Seve hit short shots. I was addicted to watching Seve walk through the locker room, by the way. Like, there's Seve was the most amazing character and such a special, I don't know, incredible. So Seve and like the tapes that I used to watch of like the majors and stuff, I used to watch, in 88, he shot like 65 in the last round of the British Open and hit this pitch shot on the last hole from left of the green. It was still the best looking chip shot I've ever seen. So Seve probably
better than
historically.
Yours, Wingfoot?
Better, way better. Like cooler too, because he was Seve when he did it. His hair was everywhere. The best pairing, I mean, I don't know, Ernie was always a great pairing. Because somehow he got infected by his rhythm and like it just made it look so easy, and he was a good dude and he is a good guy, and I don't know, he was special. Tiger was a great day, and I was very fortunate to play with Tiger all the way through from like the late 90s all the way through my whole career. Like I got a lot of great pairings with Tiger in majors and big sort of moments, and that was a special day, and that was something to behold, especially early 2000s Tiger, you know, like 2000, like 2002 when he was like winning. It was
putting you on the spot here
like that, but Ernie was fun to play with.
Putting you on the spot, you just gave us a Seve story. In the times that you played with Tiger, have you got a shot that just like comes to mind of a shot that you're like, oh geez?
Wow.
probably
I mean,
multiple.
this is a lot. Yeah. Like, I mean, there's a couple. Like when I first played with him, I played with him in the Johnny Walker Classic in Thailand with Rod Pampling in the third round of the Johnny Walker Classic in 99 or 2000, I think it was. And we got to this par 5 and there was an island green. So water all the way around it. And we all hit decent tee shots. I was the shortest, but like 3 or 4 yards in front of me was Pamps and about 3 or 4 yards in front of him was Tiger. And I didn't think I could get to the green. So I laid it up with like a 6-iron to a wedge. Pamps goes for the green with a 3-wood, doesn't get it there, and he's short in the water. And then Tiger stands there with a 4-iron, like way up in the air, hits it to like 10 feet, makes eagle. And it's like he's hit 4-iron 40 yards past where Rod Pampling could hit a 3-wood. And Pamps was long.
Yeah.
Like that was, this guy's got a gear that I haven't seen. It was just otherworldly. But the one sort of hallmark to Tiger that I noticed every time I play with him, didn't matter what sort of day he was having, good or bad, he always hit the important shot of the day well. Like you play with him in Augusta and he'd be all over the map and he'd be just hanging on by smoke and mirrors and he'd get to 15 and he would just pipe it down the middle, hit a 6-iron on the green and make an eagle and fix all his problems from before. Like he always hit the important shot really well. Like he could hit crap shots all day, but if it was a really important spot, he would hit an unbelievable shot and it would make such an effect on his score. And then he'd birdie 17 and 18 and now he'd be in the lead. It's like, this guy was nowhere like half an hour ago. Yeah. I never saw him finish off a round not, wow, how did he get out of that? You know, he was amazing. Yeah.
If you had to play a shot to save your life, what club are you pulling out of the bag?
Any shot in the repertoire?
Yeah.
I mean, something with my 60, I guess, in my heyday. Like I was pretty happy between 20 and 80 yards away. Now I don't know, it would probably be different, but yeah, my heyday would have been. Yeah, I'd spent so much time, as you know, with your old man, like just infinite time around the short game area. Like it was all I did was chip and pitch, and it makes a difference if you do it every day.
Absolutely. Final one for the quick 9. Your ultimate 4-ball. So obviously doesn't have to be professionals, but pick 3 people to go out and have a game with, mate.
And where are you playing? You got to pick the course.
Well, I play in Swinley Forest.
Yes.
Or the old course, that'd be pretty good. That's an honourable mention. I don't know. I never played with Tomo. I'd love to play with Tomo. I think historic. We can pick people who aren't. Yeah.
Here or not.
No
and Dad would have loved playing with Tomo, so I'll put Dad in there too. And I don't know, I'll put Scotty in there because our careers have paralleled. I've known him since he was 14, and our lives have been intertwined for 30 plus years. So Scotty, Dad, and Peter Thompson.
All right. Last question, and this is the safe space. This is the Course Language Confessional, Geoff Ogilvy. This is your funniest story, your weirdest moment, your most embarrassing moment, or dob someone else in, but just the funniest moment or most incredible moment you've seen out on a golf course. Your Course Language Confessional.
Okay, well, there's a story that Sam, you probably haven't heard. Lynchy's probably heard this story. And I'm not going to say whether it's totally true or untrue. It's mostly true. And it's gone around the caddies for a long time. And like I've told it a couple of times, but I'll tell you. So the 10th hole at Riviera. Well, firstly, I had a caddy forever that Lynchy knows called Squirrel.
He's already reacting. He already knows.
Yeah, he knows. He knows the story.
Brilliant. It's brilliant.
He knows. I had a caddy, Alistair Matheson, his name was, but everyone called him Squirrel. That's just, he was Squirrel when he got on my bag, and that's just what people called him. And these caddies, generally the European ones, you never know their real name. It's a nickname. And he was never very clear about where it actually came from. There was multiple stories about how he got Squirrel, but anyway, it was Squirrel. And he was a legend. And he'd been my caddy he was my caddy for the majority of at least the bulk of my good golf. And he was quite the character, a man of few words, but he was a fantastic caddy. Anyway, so the 10th hole at Riviera is quite famous. It's 300 yards, 260 meters, tiny little green on a crazy little angle, and a fairway bunker. It's got some similarities to the 3rd hole at Kingston 8th, if anyone like at home. But it's like the fairway bunker is kind of, you want to be right next to the fairway bunker and you hit a little wedge onto the green. And in recent years, it's got really hard to hit the green with a wedge, so everybody hits driver these days. But back then, it was sort of driver when we didn't quite hit it as far, and the wedge shot was a bit more realistic. the play, especially from across the board, 100% of the caddies would say you lay it up over there and you hit a wedge onto the green because there was too much risk involved in driver. And every year, this went on for about 5 years, I'd walk off the 9th green. I'm like, I'm going to hit driver. And he's like, nah. Squirrel's like 4-0 towards the bunker, hit a wedge on the green. We'll make birdie or we'll make par, but it's fine. Okay. And then this goes on every single day. It's like, driver, no, it's a 4-iron over to the bunker and a wedge onto the green. And like, well, we're going to make birdie or par and it's going to be fine, you know. And then finally one year it gets to this point and I make like double bogey on the 9th hole or something and I'm filthy. And I'm like, I don't care what you say. I'm hitting driver. Get out of the way. He goes, it's a 4-iron over to the bunker and a wedge. I'm like, don't care. I'm hitting driver. So I pull driver and I hit it and sure enough, I make double. Like, hit it right. Can't pitch it onto the green. Like, leave it in a bunker or something and I make 6. Doesn't say a word. Like, he's a man of few words. Doesn't say a word. And we go to the 11th tee, and the 11th tee at Riviera is really small. It's like the size of a full-size snooker table or something. It's tiny. And there's 3 golfers, 3 caddies, and there's a bunch of people around there. It's like really intimate sort of spot. And Squirrel, this is at a part where I think iPhones were a thing, but he still had like the old Nokia thing that you'd pull the aerial out of, this big brick thing. And it was either on no sound or max sound, right? And it would ring in the bag all the time. This time, I'm standing over the ball, I'm about to drive it down the 11th, obviously filthy because I've just made double. And this phone rings. Hang on a minute, Geoff. Opens the bag, gets the phone out and says, okay, hello. Sorry, no, I can't. Okay. And hangs it up. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, turn your phone off. And like, who are you talking to? Like, what did they even say? He goes, that was my mum. She said no one should hit driver on the 10th at Riviera. That was it. So that's one of the it's one of the 2 stories. Yeah, so he was, and if you know Squirrel, it's an even better story.
So monotone. No expression on the face.
Brilliant.
Oh, that's
Brilliant,
gold.
Yeah,
I just feel like he's the first time you played there, he's told his mum, Geoff's going to keep want to try and play driver. The moment he does, I need you to ring me straight away.
Just
every
brilliant.
year he tries to hit driver. Like, you've got to convince him it's not the right play. Yeah, no, it was an amazing thing.
So
now
good.
everybody hits driver on the hole and it's like, it's the play. But yeah, Squirrel, one of the best. One of one.
Brilliant.
Mate, we're so grateful that you could spend way more time than we originally allocated. We're going to let you go, but this has just been absolutely brilliant. We are going to be getting the shield. We're going to don the shield as well in support. We're so excited. We can't wait.
Put one
Medinah
up in the back of your wall there,
I've got
Sammy,
some space. I'll take one of these down. In fact, there's even more up above, but we'll certainly be donning the shield in support. We're so excited. Hopefully there's history to be made for the internationals. Clearly, they're in great hands with you and the team that you've got assembled. We can't wait to see it all unfold. And next time we get you on, we'll do a whole lot of stuff about your career and life and times. But thanks for setting us up so brilliantly for this year's President's Cup. We really appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks for having me. It's we're getting close now, so it's pretty exciting. So we'll see if we can do it.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Cheers, mate.
No worries. Thanks, boys.
Oh, Lynchy, what an absolute treat that was. A full hour with one of our greats. And geez, we didn't even get into team telling embarrassing stories of you as a little fella and you know, running around after him on the course. We didn't even speak, but geez, that was incredible, mate. Well done.
No, it was a pleasure to have him. He just gives so much time and he's just so thoughtful with his answers. I think I admire him greatly. He's our President's Cup captain. I mean, if you haven't realised already, we spent the last hour with him. We could have gone for another 3 hours talking to him about everything to look forward to over the next few weeks. We're coming into playoff season, obviously, on the PGA Tour. That's where his final team will start to take shape. You know, we're looking at guys on the outer, guys like Jason Day. Will he be okay? Will he make the side from an Australian standpoint? You know, Aldrich Potgieter is just outside. Nick Taylor's just outside. Jaden Shaper. Sung Jae Im, who's played on the President's Cup side as well. So keep your eye on them over the next few weeks during the playoffs, because the team will be starting to round out. But what insight and how fortunate we were to get Geoff on.
Yeah, absolutely. And we only really scratched the surface. And when you say we could have spoken, he could have as well. I mean, he was so generous with his answers and so giving. But we'll definitely try to have him on again. I mean, there's stuff to talk about in terms of, you know, who's going to be the person who really does put on the, I suppose. Really start to who's going to be the crowd motivator and instigator. Tom Kim did that brilliantly in his last press conference. He's older and wiser now. I think he's going to play a really big part. Anyway, we can get into the reeds and the weeds and down all those rabbit warrens, but we're not going to do what we would normally do and get around the grounds and all that kind of stuff, because we were only going to speak to Geoff for half an hour and we ended up going for an hour because it was just such a great chat. So we'll save all the news of the week, all the live stuff that we know is bubbling away.
We can just mention really, really quickly the live stuff. The initial conversation that's out at the moment is that there is an investor, there is interest, there's a potential for 5 US events, 5 international events. We can dive into what that kind of means later on. Purses will probably significantly decrease. There's a lot of contract chat that needs to play out. Players with equity. We heard obviously the Ripper boys come out and say that they're steadfast. They want to play whatever available opportunities there are on live. So that's an interesting standpoint from an Australian point of view. This still has a lot to shake out. Sounds like Bryson DeChambeau was leading a lot of the player conversations there, so it seems like he's very involved. What does that mean for John Rahm? You know, a whole host of other players, but a lot to shake out. But some interesting news so far this week, Sammy, that got released today.
Yeah, and whether they declare bankruptcy still and then just start from scratch again and renegotiate everything, and if you're owed money, then that is put into equity, because there's conflicting reports. Earlier in the year, we were told that every player who signed those big deals had been paid them up front. So Rahm, but then now reports are that he's still owed maybe just less than half of that reported 300 mil. Yeah, so look, it's a big day because we thought that it was just about done and dusted. It's great for Australia if Live Golf Adelaide continues. We're led to believe that will be one of the 5 internationals as well, as it should, because it's the highest attended and highest rating. So it'd be stupid if they didn't. But a lot to play out in the next week as well, Lynchy. But we'll just do it all next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Please send in your confessionals. Keep them coming in. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed that. We certainly enjoyed chatting to Geoff.
Course Language Podcast at gmail.com for all your Course Language confessionals. We've still got a few Travis Matthew and Callaway hats to give away, so we want to hear your Course Language confessionals. At Course Language Pod on Instagram, you can record them there, or just email them in. We'll put them through the AI, and it can be like you're in witness protection and no one will ever know your identity. Thank you to our very good friends at Callaway, by the way, who are just so generous. If you're shopping Travis Matthew or OGO, use Course Language 20 at checkout. Get yourself 20% off. They're still running the deal. Buy a Quantum driver, get a box of the Chrome Tour balls free of charge when you get yourself fitted for the new Quantum driver. And don't forget, if you want even more Quantum stuff in the bag, buy 8 pieces. They'll give you the bag to put it into as well. Good. Check it all out on the Callaway website. And we just thank them so much for sponsoring us and keeping the lights on, Lynchy. Until next week, remember, what happens on course plays on Course Language.
Hit 'em well.